Retro.
And welcome everybody to another episode of the Animanicast.
The Wild West! Yeehaw! Wagons home!
Today on
Hysteria! Hysteria! Hysteria!
Hysteria.
Hysteria!
And welcome everybody to another episode of Time Traveling Tunes, the Hystericast. Yeah, that's right. It's the sister series of the Animanicast, which of course is the podcast that's dedicated to the beloved animated series, Animaniacs, and all its related shows in the Rueggerverse. You know, like things like Pinky the Brain, Tiny Toon Adventures, and Freakazoid. Yeah, that stuff. But today, once again, we are jumping back in time with the zany cast of Hysteria. That's right, we're going to be discussing all the musical numbers, all the skits and historical context they parody. And in the end, we're going to give this episode of Hysteria a Water Tower rating. I am Joey, and joining me once again are my co-hosts. There's my brother Nathan.
What's up, Doc?
Across the country in Georgia, here's Kelly.
Hello.
Hey, and hey, well, that's not it, everybody. We also have a special guest. He's been on the show a few times before. He's a great artist, and he's a fan of Hysteria. We had to get him on here to get what he thought of the show. It's our friend Mark Aaron.
Hello.
Hey, Mark, welcome back to the Animaniacs cast. I can't even say this podcast anymore.
Start over.
Yeah. Welcome to the Animanicast, Mark. Glad to have you back on. You haven't been on for a very long time, but it's nice to have you back on. Yeah.
Last time I was here, I subbed for Kelly. So it's the first time I got to meet her.
Exactly. Finally, everybody in here, we have bonus people. This is great. Well, yes, we're talking today about, this is the 4th episode of Hysteria. It's called Wild West. Ooh. And I don't know if you guys were to just put it out there, just describe this episode in just a few words to someone. If someone said, "Oh, what's that Wild West episode about?" What would you tell that person, Nathan?
It's about the Wild West.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool.
I was going to say that.
Oh, okay. Well, Kelly,
You can still say it.
You can still say it. I mean,
It's
there you go.
about
Okay.
the Wild West.
Okay. Well, Mark, we're depending on you to say something different than
About the gold rush.
The gold rush.
Yeah. And the engine wars, as they said.
And yes, as they said. Let's put a little asterisk
Specifically
on
as
that.
they
We
said.
would never say that. No.
No, not a second time.
Right. Well, yes, this episode is definitely an episode that is, I found it interesting, satirical, and some parts a little controversial, I will say. But I thought, ooh, that's actually not bad because that's actually ripe for discussion. So I'm excited to get into today's episode to talk about what elements of the comedy worked, which didn't work, and which might be a little bit outdated, or, as we say, sometimes you have to put those asterisks on them in order for them to perhaps work. Well, this episode was written almost 25, well, actually more than 25 years ago. So, you got to put that in context as well. Well, speaking of which, time, Nathan, we gotta this episode premiered, Nathan. I'm looking this up on the show notes that you copied and pasted from Wikipedia. It says it premiered on Thursday, September 17th, 1998. And I got to ask Nathan one important question. Can you please give us our Hysteria Facts theme song for September 17th?
It's the Hysterifax theme song for September 17th. That's right, listen up, because I'm gonna tell you teens. You teens are gonna know about the 17th of September in 1998. Yeah!
All right. Excellent. Very good job writing all that down. Mark is clapping. Nathan, what kind of facts and trivia do we got for this episode?
Oh boy. Yeah, so we got so many things because this episode came out like a day after the previous episode and a day
You're kidding
before the
me.
next episode. So
Whoa.
I'm trying to find things for this exact date on September 17th in 1998, and nothing happened. I mean, Dolly Parton, he was in London to launch a new album called Hungry Again. We had on the top of the charts, we had some amazing songs that were probably on the top of the charts the day before, but Aerosmith's I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, Monica's The First Night, Jennifer Page Crush, Usher, My Way, and Brandy and Monica's The Boy Is Mine are all on the top of the chart in September 17th of 1998. And that's it. I don't know. Do you want to know other years? I mean,
what happened in another year in September 17th, I suppose? Since 1988 was apparently a dud.
Yeah, like nothing happened. Spiro Agnew died on September 17th, 1998, in one of these years.
Okay.
After 67 at some point. In 1976, the Space Shuttle Enterprise was unveiled by NASA. So that's a wild Western thing.
The final frontier.
That's true. So this takes place between 1800 and 1900, right? So
yes,
maybe something on one of those dates. We had the Argentine Civil Wars happened in 1861. The American abolitionist Harriet Tubman escaped from slavery in 1849.
On September 17th.
Cool. Apparently, I don't know how they know that exact date. But
I mean, maybe she wrote it down in a journal.
She probably wrote it in a book. So
yeah,
there you go.
Could happen. So
pretty cool.
There's things that happen. Now, I do want to have one clarification question for you, Nathan. Now, you said this episode it premiered like after the previous episode. You meant episode 3, right? Is that
episode
what you meant?
3, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I wanted to make sure you were talking about Dawn of Time or something.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Because this is like the opening of Hysteria, so every day there's a new episode for the first like week or something. So I'm like, well, if we ever do episode 1 or something, which we might do.
Right. That's interesting. So I thought Hysteria was just a weekend show.
Yeah. It's a premiere week, so it's messes everything up for when you want to have a lot of cool things to say, but
it's kind of cool to see this episode because I was like, you mentioned the places like Tombstone, Arizona. I was like, oh, I've been there. Cool. Arizona. That's an inside joke just for me and Nathan, and that's pretty much it. So if you got that, you're probably related to us.
Our brothers are listening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you got it. So anyway, let's talk about. We're gonna get into this episode. Let's get into it. Let's go ahead and talk. We're going to separate this up into segments. And let's go. Here we go. Episode 4, Hysteria. So episode 4 of Hysteria was written by 3 people. We got Roger Eschbacher, Mark Seidenberg, and Tom Ruegger. As far as I can tell, Roger Eschbacher may have picked up the majority of this, and Tom wrote the Buffalo Bills segment, and Mark wrote the Earps segment, which is, if that's all Mark wrote, it is a very quick part. So I don't know. He might have written just a little bit more. I'll give Mark just a little bit more, but who knows? Just as a side note, this episode was suggested by Tom Ruegger to watch this. So that's one of the reasons we're watching this particular one. So
he's going to listen to this.
Yes.
Oh, no pressure.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Tom.
5 stars.
5 stars. There we
Water
go.
towers. What do we got?
Okay, 5 water towers.
And that's our show.
This episode was directed by John Griffin, Dave Pryor, and John McClanahan. And Nathan, I believe we met Dave Pryor in San Diego. And of course, we had John McClanahan on the show. So,
I know definitely the latter and probably the prior.
Yes. Well,
Did you meet them prior to the ladder?
yeah. Well, we met Dave first in San Diego. Real nice guy, and then John McClanahan, of course. John Griffin, have not yet met you, but hope to get him on soon. Actually, I talked to Kirk Tingblad recently online. Hopefully, we can get him on to talk to him about all this. I mean, that alone is worth talking to him for an hour. Let's just talk about your name, Kirk. Okay. So we're going to separate this show into 3 acts, thanks to Nathan. And so, Nathan, why don't you go ahead and start telling us what happens here in Act 1 of this episode?
Oh, man. All right. So we start off with a little tour by Misinformation. She's telling everyone where the Wild Wild West is. And here we are. We're in the Wild Wild West, which was named after a TV show, apparently, she thinks.
The Wild West was named after a TV show starring Robert Conrad and Ross Martin.
But really, Father Time corrects us. It is actually about, a certain time period. So who'd have thought? So we get to see little things like that. And then we go into Billy the Kitty Show, which it's all about Billy the Kid. He's in jail. And, we get a little song for him even, like get out of jail so we could stop singing.
Histeria presents The Wild West. Now here he is, the host of our show, that 22-year-old terror of New Mexico whose short and violent career would make him a legend, Billy the Kid.
Howdy, buckaroos! It's time for Billy the Kitty Show!
Billy the Kid, won't you break out of jail, break out of jail, break out of jail. Billy the Kid, won't you break out of jail so we can stop singing this tune.
I'm working on it, youngins.
But then there's a little problem with the censors because he's telling the kids to go to a bar and get a gun, which is not good, apparently. I don't know.
I'm sorry, even though this is the WB, we do have standards, and we're having a little problem with the fact that you're a violent criminal hosting a kiddies television show.
Huh?
Especially now that you're sending one of the youngins to fetch a 6-shooter in yonder barn.
Well, what in tarnation do you want me to do about that? I am what I am, a bad man.
So instead, they're going to make him a girl, and they do that. And then the sheriff thinks that Billy the Kid has escaped, and he's like, you women should get out of here before he gets back. So Billy the Kid manages to escape jail. And that's when we find out this is actually Histeria presenting the Wild West. And then we get to hear the word hysteria like 10 times.
No, 15. Nathan. No, I know this is already like Nathan's little pet peeve. This is not. I'm not going to make this into the newsreel, the stars. This right here. They only said, I think in the previous episode, they said it like.
They said it more?
Like a lot more. This, I think they said it 4 times. I think.
Okay, maybe.
Maybe I'm getting used to it now. And
I think you just get used to it.
But yes, there's our intro to this. There's our first act right there. So let's go and talk about some of the cultural references we got going on here and what we thought about each little moment. So yes, like Nathan mentioned, Misinformation talks about how the Wild West was based off of a show that was featured Robert Conrad and Ross Martin. And it shows a little bit of a parody of a theme song.
The fake title screen. The
fake title screen goes across, and I had to, of course, Google that. And on YouTube, you can actually watch the actual opening theme song to the show Wild Wild West. And sure enough, it looks a lot like that, and the music is very similar. So,
It's more problematic in actual life than what they had.
In the theme song, what the cowboy punches a girl in the face, right?
Yeah, for kissing him.
No, she was gonna knife him in the back. Did you see that?
Oh, okay. I just thought like
Kissing, knifing in the back.
her.
They're the
She was
same thing.
kissing him, but she has a knife in her hand and she's
I
about to
didn't see the
stab it.
knife.
Okay.
You just
I didn't see the knife. I just saw.
Okay. If you don't see the knife in the hand that she's about to kill him, then yes, having the, I could see why you would be very upset that you kiss a girl and then punch her in the face would be.
And then walk away.
I did like, by the way, the math reference. I thought, Nathan, you would have liked the math reference with the Hysteria. Did you notice the little squared thing on the Hysteria version?
Didn't look at that. Well, I don't know what.
So if you look at the Hysteria titles, when they're saying it's the Wild West, they don't say the Wild Wild West, but they say the Wild, and there's a little number 2 next to it for squared West. So you can't call it the Wild Wild West because, copyright or something. But they did, get away with it a little bit right there. Of course, Wild Wild West became a movie around this time. When did that movie come out? Around 1998, I think. I never saw it. Have any of you ever seen that Will Smith movie with Kevin Kline and Will
Not on
Smith?
purpose.
I don't remember. Like I saw the music video or whatever enough that I kind of feel like I have seen it, but I couldn't tell you if I actually saw the movie.
I don't think many people did see that movie. From what I remember, it was a flop. I'm not exactly sure why. I think I want to say it came out in 1999, maybe the same year as Phantom Menace, and people were just seeing that.
I
don't know.
I don't want to say it was that year, but I feel like it was a little early for like the steampunk. Like I don't think steampunk had really caught on by that point. I'm not sure, but because there was a point where steampunk was
1999,
really big at Dragon Con, and then it's still pretty big, I guess, but it was a real big thing. I think before Pirates.
Yes, the release date 1999, June 30th, 1999.
Oh, okay. I thought it came out later than that.
Best year for movies.
It was a good movie. It was a good year for movies.
No, 1989. That was the best year for movies.
Look
it up.
No, 1994.
Well, I don't know what's 94.
Every Jim Carrey movie came out the same year. The Mask, Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber.
Wow.
1939, according to Wikipedia, is the best year for movies.
Well,
it's always on the 9.
Yeah,
It's always on the 9. It's either
Casablanca.
39 or...
No, wait, Casablanca was later, but that was Wizard of Oz year 39. I think Casablanca was later. But it was Wizard of Oz was huge.
Maybe it's every 5th year, like the 9s and the 4s.
Maybe. On Movie Web, they have them ranked. Number 1 is 1939. Then 1999, so I win. Then 2007, 1975, 1967, 1994.
75 was Jaws.
1989, then 82.
See,
okay.
82's got to be higher.
Well, I was going to say, because E.T. and Annie.
Every movie came out that year.
But E.T.'s been like the biggest. So 97 was what, Titanic?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're just joining us, we're listening to the Year podcast where we talk about years.
Be better. I mean, The Matrix came out in 99, The Sixth
Matrix.
Sense, Toy Story 2. Those are all good movies,
Toy Story 2 came in 1999? Whoa,
Wow.
okay. Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just watched you get gray hair.
Yeah, it was, wow.
I already have gray hair.
I don't.
So
I'm
anyway,
getting rid of it tomorrow.
So Wildlife, I have no familiarity with the actual TV show other than now the theme song, which I was admired the closeness right there. So I don't know if the show was that steampunkish or not, but I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
They probably didn't have a giant mechanical spider or anything like that, which
I don't know.
I think
there gotta be some sort of stuff like that, right? Unless the movie completely went away from it. I would hope that there would be some sort of something
the movie
in the
completely made it up.
It took place in the Western. It's because the producer was really big into those things. I think he was the one that was going to do the Nicolas Cage Superman movie, and he was
Right,
like,
with Kevin
there's going to
Smith
be a
wrote it.
giant spider. Yeah, we want to have a giant spider at the end. And then he's like, and then he came out with Wild Wild West. And it's like,
Yeah, now it's all coming together. Well, there's no giant spiders in this episode, so that's good for some people. Like my wife would not watch it if there was a giant spider. She would not watch this episode. Okay, Billy the Kitty Show. Very similar to a kitty show. Maybe Howdy Doody. I don't know. I can't really watch. I don't even know if you could really watch that many old episodes of Howdy Doody somewhere online. You maybe be able to do that, but he kind of looked like a puppet a little bit because he was popping up in a jail window, and the sheriff is a Clint Eastwood, who I think this might have been around the time of Unforgiven. Okay, Googling Unforgiven.
Well, if you're going to do cowboys, you have to put Clint Eastwood in it, period.
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, good, bad, ugly kind of thing.
Yeah. But I want to say, was he a sheriff? I've never seen Unforgiven, but I don't know. He's still doing his thing. Clint Eastwood. He has, I think, one of the best lines in this entire episode, which is just whatever.
Whatever.
And so good they came back to it again later. And the Nora Dunn is in this episode. This is the first time we get our censor, Lydia
Yay.
Karaoke. And the voice is it's essentially identical to this character she used to do in Saturday Night Live, Pat Stevens.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Pat Stevens Show. I'm Pat Stevens. Everybody's flapping about fur these days. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Fur is murder. To clean. Oh, it is. It makes a nice bumper sticker. I mean, I love animals. I've got a Pekingese. Animals are mysterious, delightful creatures. There's nothing cuter than a little chimp running around in diapers or a fuzzy brown bear in a bowler. Makes me scream.
I really like this voice. It's so annoyingly bad. But yes, so we have Lydia Karaoke talking to about how problematic this whole concept
She
is.
was my favorite one in the episode.
the censor.
Yes.
I did see on your Instagram you drew a really cool Lydia Karaoke.
I love that. She does I'm having a real hard time with this.
Yes.
I am really struggling with this episode.
She takes Billy the Kid, like Nathan said, and to help the demographic of young girls to get the more interest in the show. She pops him in a machine and makes him into a girl. And boy, that was a close call because he goes to rip off his costume, and I thought for sure we were going to see much more than we should on a children's television show. Yes. But luckily, her clothes stay on and everything like that. And, after Clint Eastwood runs away, he just unzips the head and comes out of the girl's costume. What did you guys, I think that's pretty much it for references and stuff like that. What did you guys think of this first act? Mark, you're our guest. What did you think?
Like I said, the Linda Karaoke, the network censor, was my favorite every time she pops up. You can't do that. This is a kid show. Oh, come on. That just filled me with joy every time she was on there. And I loved that Billy the Kid was the first, what do you call it, gender swapped character on a kid's show.
That was an interesting thing when I saw that, because to me, I was just like, oh, like this. I hear this complaint all the time.
Right.
Online now these days of, oh, just change it to a girl.
So Hysteria did it first.
Of course, they did. I think what they did on this, it wasn't done in the same manner that one would talk about today, but interesting. Right. Kelly, what did you think about Act 1?
Well, there wasn't a lot to it. It was kind of short, but I agree that I got nervous when he was going to unzip the costume. I mean, I knew they weren't going to show anything, but it definitely was very suggestive. And also when they were talking about how they wanted to appeal to like, female demographics or whatever, I thought they were going to change him into like a really hot character, like a male guy character, stereotypical heterosexual demographics there. But I was very surprised that they turned him into a young woman, young girl.
I could see that actually working too for back, in kids' television shows. Putting it as the hot guy wouldn't necessarily be the thing to attract girls to it, because I mean, He-Man, you get this big muscular guy, and it's like, but it's for the boys, So
Well,
but
yeah,
he
I don't
had
know.
a stupid haircut.
I was
He
gonna say
did.
the exact same thing. I said stupid haircut. Yep, no, he's
Fine,
right there.
Lion-O had the good hair. That's some
Truth.
styled hair.
He has some good hair. Yeah, Lion-O.
And
Nathan-
half of those characters were naked already.
That's true. Well, that. Hey, enough said. Nathan, what about you? What did you think about this first part?
Yeah, I thought that they were going to make him like a pony or something, a pretty pony or something.
Aw.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, what are the girls like?
Well, I think honestly, if this episode were done again today, that they may have done that. That might be the demographic that the network executive / censor might go for, like a little cowboy pony instead.
And yeah, I thought it was fine. This opening segment, kind of educational, gives some dates. 1800 to 1900. Here we go.
And and Billy the Kid, I got to mention,
He's 22.
22.
Is that right?
Looks like he's 12. Sounds like he's 12. He's voiced by
but then
Luke.
the girl, the woman that he turns into, is like, she's probably 22. Like, I was like, I don't know.
She was all grown up.
She was voiced by Luke Ruegger. By the way, Luke's a really cool guy. Mark got to hang out with Luke a little bit, and fan
And
X.
a very talented artist too.
And of course, he's the big fat baby in this, so you get a lot of range
Be
with
nice.
Luke in this episode.
Oh.
What did you say there, Mark?
I said, be nice.
nice.
Don't call him names.
Oh, yeah. No.
Plus, he's a big fat baby in real life, so.
Let's go ahead and get into our second act right now. And this one has a lot of really fun segments. Kelly, why don't you tell us what happens here in Act 2 of Hysteria? Wild West.
Okay. There's a lot. There's a segment on the Gold Rush. There's a song that happens there. The Gold Rush was, or at least it began like 1848 to 1849, which I learned from Jeopardy eons ago that's why, San Francisco are called the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I remember that.
Oh, the gold rush, yes, the gold rush, back in 1849. John Augustus Sutter hushed it, tried to say,
that gold is mine.
but the miners wouldn't listen, and they overran his dirt. 'Cause pure gold can make you crazy till your head begins to hurt.
But so gold was discovered in that area, and by a John Sutter, and his employee James Marshall found gold at Sutter's mill.
All right, let's
And-
pause right here because this was actually a lot of stuff. Because
Okay.
Kelly has a lot of stuff in her act. Instead of
I
going
do.
through it all, I think we should definitely pause. So this has a great song to it. And we forgot to mention there's a song on the Billy the Kid song. Billy the Kid, won't you get out of jail? And that's the
Get out of
Buffalo
jail,
Gal.
Get out of jail. Yep.
Yeah, Buffalo Gal, won't you
I
come
think
out
I said
tonight?
one word about it. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Billy the
forgot to
Kid
mention
finally
it.
broke out of jail.
Yeah, Buffalo Gal. I just know that from, It's a Wonderful Life.
Tonight, can't you come out tonight? Buffalo gals, can't you come out tonight?
And then they have this right here. Now, Oh, My Darling Clementine is what they're singing the whole Sutter's Mill song to. Might know Oh, My Darling Clementine from, I don't know, Huckleberry Hound sings it a lot, going around the place. But
There
yes,
is a Huckleberry Hound impression in this episode.
okay, well, when we get to it, point it out because I missed that one. Okay, we're on the lookout. So they did mention a lot of years in this. We got the 1849. I saw one cultural reference here. A W.C. Fields impression.
Horace Greeley, newspaper publisher. Ah, go west, young man, and grow up with the country.
Yes.
Not too familiar with W.C. Fields. I've never seen a W.C. Fields movie. I've been exposed to W.C. Fields through Looney Tunes, so just impressions. And I think that's pretty. But oh wait, we have Yakko on a TV set.
Yep.
Right.
Father Time's watching Animaniacs.
Yeah, and then we have the mime. They sing about the mime. Be as quiet as a mime. And I'm gonna guess that I don't think that's the mime from Animaniacs. Very similar looking. Maybe his cousin. Yeah, cousin. Yep, we're going with it.
I was like, I'm like, why wouldn't they just do the Animaniacs mime? But I don't know.
I agree. They probably should have used the Animaniacs mime. But what do you guys think of the Gold Rush song? Nathan, let's start with you. What did you think about this Gold Rush song?
I mean, it's a very educational song. Like, they do pack a lot of information in the song, but it's kind of like an annoying tune. So
you're not in.
I wouldn't want to like I'm going to sing this to people to teach them about the gold mine. Like, I'm too annoying to memorize.
I didn't think it was annoying. I thought it was well placed in the time period for what it was. It was an old pioneerish song, and if you're going to sing about this type of time in history, double down and get a tune from that era as well. Why not? It's not my fault that 170 years later you don't like that song. That's your own fault. Kelly, what did you think about the Gold Rush thingamabobber here?
Pioneer songs are not really my thing. It was all right.
Mark, what about you?
I was born and raised in Utah, and pioneer songs were our thing.
Yeah.
It's a very big deal here. So I was fine with it. And the Yakko cameo when Father Time was watching Animaniacs, that was delightful.
Yeah, you got to take what we can get this time. I mean, Animaniacs is off the air. And so I'm sure for kids watching this, they're like,
Actually,
no new
double
episodes.
taked. I backed up and I'm like, was that? Yes, it was.
It was. I got to mention, by the way, I love how Father Time in this episode is doing the pioneer, go west, old man, kind of like the prospector voice. So that was cool to hear him doing that. But yeah, I like Nathan said, I really liked how informative this was. Like, it gave a lot of definitely specific dates and times, and it told the story.
People's
within the
names.
song. Yeah.
Like, even I mean, Mr. Marshall, I was like, was that his actual name? Like, oh yeah, no, Mr. Marshall found some gold and then took it to his, and then,
Yeah, I thought it was a nice way to kind of like get the information of how California essentially started with this guy who just discovered
like,
it.
That's why it became a state, is because, Gold Rush and
all those people there. All right, now I think we're getting to one of our main segments here. Kelly, what happens next in Act 2?
Okay, it's sort of a game show. General Custer is, the notes say custard.
Yeah, not custard, Nathan.
What? Yummy.
Sorry. It's sort of a quiz show format, and General Custer is the MC, the host, and Native Americans are the contestants.
And now here's the host of Indian Givers, renowned Indian fighter, overly ambitious glory seeker, finished last in his class at West Point, and the guy voted most likely to be massacred, General George Armstrong Custer!
Thank you, Johnny. And what a show we've got for you today, folks. Homesteaders, ranchers, and miners, are you ready to grab some land? Yes!
And I would say this is probably a pretty controversial segment, or at least nowadays, it probably would not hold up as well. Because it's I don't even know where to start. But Geronimo is one of the contestants, Sitting Bull, and
Chief
the
Joseph.
Chief Joseph, who I was not familiar with. And so he's asking questions, and their answers are technically correct, but he provides the same answer to each one, which is basically you're going to let it, the settlers take over your land and not give them any trouble, pretty much.
Oh, you're playing my song. Charge! Okay, here we go. Question number 1. The Great White Father promises that you can stay on your land, quote, as long as water shall flow, unquote. What do you do? Geronimo!
That's an easy one. Take a small band of Apaches and slip away to an isolated mountain hideout.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. The correct answer is surrender peacefully and let settlers take over your land.
I am really struggling with this episode.
And then he makes reference to that someday they'll be able to own casinos. And it's a very honest but kind of brutal look at white settlements when they took over Native American lands. I mean, I thought it was kind of sad. It wasn't funny, but I guess it was kind of educational as well. And it made me think of Pocahontas, though, because they did make reference to like pale faces and things like that. And it just reminded me of this one song from Pocahontas where they say the pale face is a demon. And then I got that song in my head. I think what is the name of that song? I can't remember. It's like the big war song towards the end of the movie. But yeah, there's a lot going on in this segment.
Definitely. I gotta say, the segment right here. Now, number one, the game show being called Indian Givers, right away you're like, what is this going on? Like that term alone being a very like racist term. Like if you're saying like, oh, you're an Indian giver, it's like, what the heck? You don't. That is not a term you use these days. Actually, the first time I've ever heard that term, and I had no idea what it was about, was on Seinfeld. I remember watching the episode of Seinfeld, which was dealing with a lot with this. And I remember turning to my dad going, what's an Indian giver? What is that? And it's, and then I found out, I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like it's such a racist idea that you're going to give us something and then want it back. It's like the Native Americans never gave anything, forced into treaties and stuff like that. I do appreciate how this is a strongly satirical segment. Like they're going over a very brutal time in history with, yes, there is humor going on, but you're not meant to laugh and cheer along with General Custer. If anything, I thought the chiefs right there doing all this stuff, that was the funny stuff. And when I'm sorry, the correct answer is surrender peacefully and let settlers take over your land. It's sad, like Kelly said, it's like, yeah, that's sad, but also it's like, oh, you son of a.
It's a lighthearted way of getting a very hard message across.
Exactly, and
that's what I appreciated about it.
I like how Billy the Kid introduces this segment as well. Like before they even get into the game show, he gets into this saying, just so you know, kiddos, it wasn't the Native Americans.
Between you and me, youngins, it weren't the Indians that were doing the breaking.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
I love that line. They're like, it's right up front. It's honest. It's
like, these are the white people. The white people are the bad people in this.
Yep.
And this is really, I think, honestly, it's this segment and then later on the Buffalo Bill segment that I thought were some of honestly, I love these two. I love these two segments, and I'll tell you because other shows, especially dealing for kids' history, would not touch this stuff with a 10-foot pole because it paints it's a reality that you could have these discussions about. And
Well, and they're not sugarcoating it. They said they're making it palatable and amusing, but
right.
It's honest. This is what happened, but this is the way we're going to choose to represent it to you.
And just it was Custer's the villain in this. Absolutely. Like he's this villainous character who gets comeuppance, at the end, when the walls of the studio fall to the side, and it turns out he's in Little Bighorn, surrounded by the Native Americans, about to kill him.
I've got plans for you, Goldilocks.
I'm sure you do, Mr. Bull. That's all the time we have. So long from Little Bighorn, Montana. Until then, I'm General George Armstrong Custer for Indian Giver. You guys wouldn't be here to surrender peacefully and let settlers take over your land, hmm?
No!
Yeah. Could I interest you guys in a treaty?
And you go, haha, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it's like a comedic kind of like, you're getting yours
plans
now.
For you, Goldilocks.
Yeah, the really cool stuff. Let's talk about the cultural references. The Native Americans here. We got Jack Palance kind of voice.
That's what it was. Thank you.
Yes, Jack Palance voice for Sitting Bull.
Death to all the pale-faced devil.
And I could just go, what is that voice? And I remember, okay, it sounds a little bit
Candle.
like Candle. From Freakazoid. Yes, and I'm going to need more rope. It's the same Jack Palance. Believe it or not.
That was Jeff Bennett.
Yeah. Chief Joseph, you got Sammy Davis Jr. voice going on from Rob Paulson.
Hey man, Sitting Bull knows where it's at, okay? The pale-faced devil has got to go, baby.
And then Geronimo, I believe voiced by Billy West.
Yes.
Doing a Yul Brynner King and I thing going on.
Etc., etc.
I agree with Sitting Bull and Chief Joseph, etc., etc., etc.
So, again, I appreciate what Hysteria does right here. Taking, these characters, especially characters of different ethnicities, and instead of saying, well, we got to try to, I mean, they sometimes do it in this show, to be fair. They do it and it doesn't work as well. Like we'll get maybe in our third episode, she might show up, but there's and I forget the girl's name. She's like a little Asian girl, I think voiced by Tress MacNeille, who speaks in a very thick, stereotypical Asian accent. And I'm like, ooh, that doesn't quite work right now. I wish they weren't doing that.
Like the Apu thing,
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
No, it's the Godzilla thing.
Right.
It's not making fun of Asian people. It's making fun of the dumb people that dubbed those movies back then. It's yes.
It's a weird thing. I know if it was done today, it would just be a voice of a kid.
But they're very much making fun of the badly dubbed movies. That's specifically what they're doing.
Well, okay. But I did like this, and which reminds me, Mark, in our previous episode, we were talking about the ancient world, and I mentioned about isn't that nice how that Mongolian guy sounds like John Wayne, and then Genghis Khan. How neat of them to pick John Wayne as a voice. Well, Mark sent me this. He goes, almost actually kind of thing.
No, it was.
it was a completely actually thing on Instagram. It was actually parroting a John Wayne movie where John Wayne was Genghis Khan. I forget what the title of this movie is. I remember seeing the poster you sent me.
Something chaos, something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the day where it's like, oh wait, no,
it was an actual thing. I'm like, they were specifically parodying that movie.
John Wayne, I'm assuming playing Genghis Khan.
Oh yeah, he squinted.
Makes perfect sense. Oh my god,
it was awful.
So I went from, isn't that nice? They tried not to be racist to, oh, wait, well, I guess it's kind of like they're referencing something that back it actually was very racist. So hooray. So But I'm glad that Mark sent me that because I was like, mind blown. Okay, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, obviously not a huge.
Well, and Yul Brynner had an entire career of playing other nationalities in movies.
Yeah. So
all of them.
exactly. And I will say, Chief Joseph as Sammy Davis Jr. It was a very much like Rob Paulson doing Billy Crystal doing Sammy Davis Jr. So it was kind of like the connections there. Okay, but yeah, but anyway, I the only thing in this one that I'm like, I did not like was the whole. Don't worry, in 100 years you'll have casinos. And they went okay, like they were all happy about that, and I'm like, I don't know, like. To me, the only line I would change is like, they're like, who cares about, you know what I mean? Like, you'll be rich. And they'll be like, they shouldn't have said, okay. That would be my edit for a modern audience today. It's like, do this, sure. Maybe you change the name of the title, of course. But I appreciated the satirical notes that it was hitting on this one quite a bit. And I like just the little things of like your prize is going to a less desirable piece of land. Number one, you won, and what did the other people get? They got the same thing. Go out, get away into this hot desert, where you don't want to live. It's it's a complicated segment. I could totally understand if somebody would watch this and go, I don't like this, and I would totally understand that. For me, it worked. But what did you guys think?
I showed this to a friend of mine.
Yes. So who'd you show, Mark? What did they think?
He's Latino. I'm trying to remember which one's which. And he started, eyes just bugged out of his head. And as we got through the segment, he relaxed, got into it, and said, I get it. I know it. That's cool. They're honest about it. That's incredible. This was made when? Back in 98, and they were talking about that then. That's fantastic. But he started terrified.
Yeah.
And like I said, as soon as he realized what it was, and he was like, good, this needs to be seen more. Why don't people know that?
It was a dark humor kind of thing going on, was it? It's kind of weird seeing the people cheering, going, yay, at all the horrible things that are happening.
I mean, they're also cheering as they're saying, like, death to the pale faces or whatever. And then
that's true. Death to the I love that, actually. That little, like, I'm going to kill you, white man kind of thing going on.
And then all
too,
the white people in the audience are
was
cheering.
great. They're
funny.
again, a satirical thing to just show that people will cheer for anything. And they're so
not
stupid.
really listening or, exactly.
They're perhaps just so stupid. So Mark, you loved it. Nathan, what did you think about this?
I was a little like, I also had like reservations, which I guess I can't say.
Bad
no,
pun is bad.
But no, I do appreciate that it was taken on. It is like something that they might not even attempt at all. If they're doing history nowadays, trying to do because it is such a sensitive and like, how do you do this on a comedy show? It doesn't seem possible. So I appreciate that they tried and that they were sensitive about it.
It would be interesting. I would love to see an episode something like this done again. I mean, it seems like a segment that honestly, like, have you guys seen Reservation Dogs at all?
No.
It's really good. On Hulu, the whole series. I didn't really want to watch it. I was like, my wife was watching it, and she's like, if you want to watch, she watched the whole series, and she's like, if you want to rewatch the series with me, I'll rewatch it with you. And I was like, okay, really great. And so it's kind of like Atlanta, where Atlanta would have certain episodes just kind of be its own little thing. And I feel like something like this kind of a game show teaching the history of Native Americans would work in a show like that. So I don't know. I appreciated it. I would love to see it, something like it modernized, because there was still some problematic things in it, even though they tried to be, good. But Kelly, any last thoughts on this one before we go to the next part?
No, I think I covered everything.
All right. So we got a tombstone part right here. What happens in this tombstone thing, Kelly?
Father Time introduces the Earps, and they burp, and that's kind of about it.
Yep.
And now Hysteria proudly presents the Earp Brothers. So long, Pilgrim.
And it goes to the next segment.
Yep. I almost feel like it's almost like it's separated, but I almost feel like it's the same. It kind of goes into the misinformation part. But I will say, the Wyatt Earp thing, the people burping, did remind me of a song by Spike Jonze and the City Slickers called Wyatt Burp, I think. I don't know. Or they keep saying in the song, Wyatt Earp, he makes me burp.
Well, how about hiring Wyatt Earp?
Wyatt Earp, he makes me burp.
Well, it's like Wiley Burp in Five Goes West.
Yes. So there you go. Got those burping connections. All right. Well, what happens to the main thing right here, Kelly?
Oh, okay. It's misinformation. And she's introducing or interviewing Doc Holliday. And Doc Holiday's kind of coughing through the interview. I think he had tuberculosis, I think.
Yes.
Yes.
So he's not doing so. It's sort of alluding to the fact that he's probably on his way out.
Yeah.
And she asked him some interesting questions that, talking about the OK Corral.
Hiya, Doc.
Ma'am?
Ew, ma'am. Doesn't that sound all rugged and western? Can you say it again?
Ma'am?
Ew, thank you. Now, Doc, it says here that you were involved in the famous gunfight at the OK Corral.
That's right, ma'am.
I thought this was funny. I actually kind of laughed at it because she's like, why OK Corral? Like, why not like the best corral or the greatest corral or, better than average?
Excuse me?
I can't believe it's not a corral or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, I don't even know how to answer that question. I mean, his response was the question was pretty funny. And of course, Bugs Bunny showed up and had to say, "What's up, Doc?" Sort of the joke sort of wrote itself.
Yeah.
What's up, Doc?
Okay, that's it. I've had it.
And that's kind of about it.
That is pretty much it. But it was cute. And we got to say, ma'am. That's it about ma'am.
Ma'am.
Oh, right.
Well, what did you guys think about this one? Because but the main reference is, you got Bugs Bunny. I thought of the movie Tombstone, which it's one of my wife's favorite movies. I remember I'm okay with it. I remember watching the actual movie Wyatt Earp, that 3.5 hour Kevin Costner film back then. It came out at the same time, and I remember liking Wyatt Earp when it came out, but I would never see that movie again. No, I would. It's just no. I don't have the time for that. But what did you guys think of this segment? Nathan, let's start with you. What did you think about this?
I thought whoever did the voice actor of the Doc Holliday was some wild
Billy West
man,
wild, some Wiley West. I really like the voice of Doc Holliday.
Yeah, I did like his voice there.
It was like
a very unhinged Billy West.
Yes, and it was like almost to the point of like it sounded almost like this. He looked like a Muppet, like this. He looked like, and it almost sounded like a Grovery kind of voice. And when he gets unhinged, of you shot a man for snoring in his sleep. He's like,
no. And if anyone says that again, I'll shoot him.
Yeah, it's great.
No! And if anyone says that again, I'll kill him.
I just like. I was just like, I wanted to see this Doc Holliday turned into a puppet because he just had a beard and the face just looked really cool. And I did like the little coughs that he has his tuberculosis that they're not even mentioning. But
did he actually? I didn't see if he actually shot someone for snoring. From what I see, it was John Wesley Hardin did that.
Yeah. Okay. So, I didn't know about that. I'm glad you looked that up because I just assumed like, I guess that's him. But I've just heard that expression, in so many Old West movies. I didn't know if that was actually Doc Holliday. So,
no, I think it's another person, John Wesley Hardin.
See, well, you can't blame misinformation. I mean, her name is Misinformation. Yeah. Got to watch her. Mark, what did you think?
I loved it. Billy West, the unhinged voice of Doc Holliday, I thought was beautiful. And the Bugs Bunny cameo, always gonna give that a thumbs up. But I just loved the way he played it. It was just, I enjoyed it.
Okay. And Kelly, any last thoughts on this last one of Act 2?
No, that's it.
All right. Okay. Well, let's move on to Act 3. And Mark, why don't you tell us what happens here in our first segment of Act 3?
This was the Pony Express. It went from 1860 to 1861.
In 1860, the Pony Express began a speedy mail delivery service between Missouri and California.
I've got to cut down on those cupcakes.
And was later put out of business once the telegraph went into service. And an interview with Buffalo Bill.
Oh, yes, that's true. We'll get to the Buffalo Bill in just a minute.
Yeah.
But let's not rush ourselves like so many Buffalo. We'll get to the Buffalo stuff in just a little bit. But let's talk about some of the references that are in this Pony Express thing. Now, obviously, they go over the facts of it, right? Mark was mentioning the years, and they talk about how, they get to Sacramento in 10 days. Once
they
the telegram,
kind of like a little commercial. It reminded me of like an Amazon commercial. We get there faster.
Right. It actually, I think, used the expression of
you absolutely positively have to get something
overnight. Right. And then this
in 10 days.
In 10 days.
Pony Express, when it absolutely positively has to be there in 10 days.
Which, hey, better that than never, I suppose. So, but yeah, interesting to see. I mean, everybody kind of hears about the Pony Express, but nice to actually see it, in some fashion. And I learned some stuff. Hey, that was kind of cool. And there were some different voices that were being used. Mm-hmm. We had a John Cleese-ish voice going on. And then we had I think that's the caricature of Alexander Graham Bell that they have as a Regis Philbin kind of voice guy, the guy with the mustache and the beard. Yeah, I think I've seen segments of Hysteria before, and I think that's Alexander Graham Bell's caricature. Anyway,
and
he sounds like Regis.
The mailman's a Cliff Clavin voice from
yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah. That guy from Pixar.
That reminded me more of Homer Simpson.
Oh, okay. See,
because I was trying to place where I'd heard that voice before, and to me, it sounded like Homer.
Is there any way you can find my package?
Yeah, well, now let's see. Can you describe it there?
It's brown and box-like.
Oh, yeah, that one. All right, let me check there.
It's right in between, but yeah, I think Mark's right. I think that's a Cliff.
Because it's a mailman.
Oh.
Ooh, even more point. Yes.
And John Ratzenberger was in The Empire Strikes Back.
And Kelly,
I had to say that.
And Kelly,
what?
what is our Spielbergian reference in this segment?
Oh shoot!
I can't believe you didn't see it.
Well, I don't know.
It is so quick,
okay,
but I knew this was a Spielberg thing.
Give me a hint.
All right. Well, okay. John Ratzenberger's character goes someplace. He opens up a door.
Oh.
Oh, I must have missed it.
Well, you see these boxes piled up to the ceiling.
Oh,
it is
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Archive.
It absolutely looked like a Raiders of the Lost Ark. It looked like that. As we found out in the wonderful film Crystal Skull, Area 51 hangar.
Jumping Jehoshaphat! Break time.
Yeah, so there's some cool stuff in there, but
and Ronald Reagan.
Oh, that's right, Ronnie Reagan. He said he was going to have to duck next time.
Thank you, Pony Express.
Well, our pleasure, partner. Oh, I forgot to duck.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know the butt with an arrow.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan's been in a bunch of westerns. I never watched any of them, but I know he's been in a bunch. Let's go to what we liked about it. Let's go back to you, Nathan. See anything in this that you liked?
I like when he had to take a break right after he goes to look for the box.
yo-yo.
Yeah, just playing with his yo-yo. And I like that the ponies get a break after the telegraph is invented.
And that's where Billy did the impression of Huckleberry Hound, the talking horse.
Man, my hooves is killing me.
All right.
Yeah.
There we
I
go.
assume they still needed to move packages, right? They can't telegraph a package. So for letters, it makes sense.
Technology was very sophisticated back then.
Kelly, any little moments in this Pony Express that you saw that you thought was amusing or interesting?
No, I mean nothing that stands out that hadn't already been mentioned. So it was cute.
All right. And Mark, any last things from you?
No, I've rambled. I'm good.
Well, I'll mention one more little line that I thought that was kind of cute. It was the real pain in the donkey.
This is starting to be a real pain in the donkey.
Read between get out your thesaurus, kids, on that donkey word, and you'll know what he was really saying. All right. Let's get to the last part or last parts-ish kind of thing of the thing. What do we got, Mark, at the Buffalo Bill? What happens in this Buffalo Bill segment?
That's the Home on the Range, and Buffalo Bill's being interviewed by Bill Straitman.
Today we're here with one of the greatest hunters this country has ever known, Buffalo Bill Cody.
Glad to be here, Bill.
And Buffalo Bill got his name from killing buffalo. All of them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Almost all of them. And they get him back in the end.
That's right. There's this
not in real life, but in here.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not really happened. But yeah, Buffalo Bill. I didn't know much about Buffalo Bill other than him being a kind of a circus-ish performer with Annie Oakley or something. That's all I knew growing up. It's like he had a circus where he'd shoot guns. And I'm assuming probably kill animals live in front of people. I'm assuming it was probably horrible by today's standards, most definitely. But yes, in this one, they go over about all the things that he did, like kill a lot of buffalo, and then the buffalo made a comeback.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they did? I didn't know they were going to do that.
And some say you were single-handedly responsible for the decimation of the buffalo, that by 1889 they were virtually extinct.
That's right, I killed a lot of buffaloes.
But then miraculously in the 20th century, the buffalo have actually made a comeback.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
And then they all trample him and get him back.
And some representatives from those herds would like to speak to you.
I think it's a very Sylvester Stallone-ish voice. It's not 100% there, Sly Stallone.
It's not Rocky, but it's Sylvester Stallone.
It's definitely like if Sylvester Stallone were playing Buffalo Bill. Definitely at the end with he's like, hey, wait a minute, hey. And before he gets trampled, I was like, okay, that's I could definitely hear the Stallone there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there we go. We learned some stuff. Kelly, anything about this part you liked? Things like that in Buffalo Bill?
No, I mean nothing that I liked or disliked really. It was just a short little segment.
All right, Nathan.
Yeah, he killed a lot of buffalo. So good job, Buffalo Bill.
Earned that name.
Tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they gave out specific kind of things right there.
4,000 something.
280, I think, right? Yeah, something. Yeah,
I think it was over 4,000.
Oh, it's crazy.
Like
just like thinking about how like when the railroads would go by and they would shoot buffalo just kind of sitting out there and just leave them out in
like
the
target
middle
practice.
Yeah. Just
it's
people
like shooting
were just
womp rats from a T-16.
Am I right? It was just so it's just such a funny, again, taking a moment in history right now.
The womp rats are finally making a comeback, Luke.
Uh-oh. Watch out, Luke. I mean, you want to talk about growth of a character right there. Luke. He stopped killing just random rodents for no reason into becoming a Jedi Knight.
That.
Well, that's
They're like a meter long. I don't know. I wouldn't call them a rodent.
They're
Are
not
they
much bigger
rodents?
than 2 meters.
they're like the
Yeah,
size
2
of
meters is pretty
dogs.
big.
Yeah, big dogs too. They're the size of Great Danes. Bigger than Great
Yeah.
Danes. Wow, wait a minute. Luke, you murderer. Okay, he's a
Yeah.
psychopath. Okay. So speaking of psychopaths, we got Buffalo Bill right here. And again, I appreciated how it was kind of dealing with animals and honestly conservation of them and how it's telling you a history of how an animal was saved. Almost this Buffalo Bill could have almost not single-handedly killed all the buffalo, but definitely one of the people that seemed to have single-handedly really harmed, again, taking a moment in history and making a humorous kind of point into it. But yeah, it is kind of it's a dark point in history. He's a real villain of history in some ways. I never really knew this about Buffalo Bill. Again, like I said before, I just thought he was some stupid circus performer guy. But no, he was actually he was a murderer of buffalo.
Yeah, I wanted to point out though, real quick, that female buffaloes are only slightly bigger than 2 meters high, or in length, and only 1.5 meters high. So, when you're targeting womp rats, they're like the size of a buffalo.
Whoa. Okay, this is good to know. Thank you, Nathan.
The height of a buffalo, even the biggest buffaloes are like 1.9 meters. Not even 2 meters high.
Luke Skywalker is Luke Womp Rat
Like literally
killer.
shooting buffalo-sized things.
Yeah.
From his
Okay. So he's
T16,
he's the Buffalo Bill of the Star Wars universe. I think we've all decided this.
I mean, look at who his father is.
That's true. Oh my gosh.
He killed children.
Like father, like son.
He killed them. They're animals. All right. Mark, any last thoughts on the Buffalo Bill thingamabobber?
I enjoy a good stampede. So when the buffalo stampeded over Buffalo Bill.
I don't like the wildebeest stampede in Lion King.
Wow. That's not for comedic purposes. I enjoy a good comedic stampede.
Comedic stampedes are always appreciated. Yes. Okay.
Dramatic ones, not so much. All right. I apologize, Kelly.
Okay.
Well, the last thing right here in our episode, we have I don't know, in our notes, it just says is Billy the Kid Part 3. He kind of just closes it all up for us, right? And just wraps it up and
got caught.
We say, yeah, Billy Kid gets caught. And then he gets the words hysteria dropped on him. The end.
And they say hysteria a couple times.
And they do say hysteria. Just in case you forgot, kids. Don't you forget. You were watching this show.
Join us next time for another thrill-packed edition of
Hysteria!
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 All right. Wow, that was a lot of stuff right there, guys. A lot of history, a lot of Old West, a lot of ancient cowboys, as they said in the beginning, which, again, a throwaway line. Let's go ahead and get to our water tower rating. Out of 5 water towers, how many would you give this episode of Hysteria? I'm going to go on a limb. I'm going to just go first. I like this episode a lot. I'm going to give it 4 water towers. I had a lot of fun. I learned some facts. Songs could have been a bit better, but I learned a lot of facts. It had some. Hear this. It's yeah, I know Tom's going to hear this, but no, the songs could have been a little bit better, I suppose. But honestly, even the songs, I'm learning facts. I can't complain about that. And more importantly for me, I appreciate it when I get to learn closer to the real story, not the polished, sanitized version of history. And I think that this show did a little bit of that. Not so much that it was depressing, but enough that you learned something and I was still entertained. Kelly, what about you? What did you think?
I'm leaning towards 4 as well. Because I liked it better than the first episode, the pilot episode, I guess.
Well, for us.
Yeah. So I thought it was pretty educational. I mean, the songs were fine. Not something I'd probably memorize and sing like some of the Animaniacs songs, but
I still have Billy the Kid, Won't You Break Out of Jail in my head. So
Okay.
I mean, I'm going to sing that for another
That's
week.
you. That's not me.
Last 4 days.
I've actually been singing "There Are No Cats in America" in my head because my 5-0 Funko Pop came yesterday. So anyway, sorry, but yeah, I thought it was overall pretty strong episode. Nothing that like I said, the segment it was very controversial, and but I think they handled it deftly. As best you can, and still try to make it, like you said, satirical, and still glean some education out of it, and I thought parts of it were funny. I was amused.
All right, Nathan, what about you?
I'm gonna go with 3.5 because I do think it was a better episode than last week. I like that there's music, but I thought the songs could have been better.
All right,
but still very educational and all that, so I love it. Yeah,
excellent. All right, Mark, you're a guest. I had to save you for last because you've watched a lot of episodes of Hysteria, probably more than all of us. I'm assuming you have the box set.
I haven't completed it yet, but yes, I've seen more than you so far.
Yes.
I give it a 3 plus a Bugs Bunny cameo, so that gives it a 3.5.
All right.
I really liked it. Like I said, I liked that they didn't shy away from the topics. I appreciate trying to make it lighthearted so that it's palatable. Like I said, when I shared it, my friend was impressed with it, that they were daring to tell the story. And I think that's that needs to be out there. So 3.5 to 4. Sorry, that's what I meant.
All right.
So,
if we could give you a 3.75, then, which we can't, but that sounds like you want. Okay. Well, he's our guest.
I wrote it down 3.5 to 4.
Okay.
I just put 3.75.
Okay.
3.75.
3.75. There, we did it.
Mark bad at math.
Do anything we want. Yeah.
We can do whatever we want. All right. Well, that'll do it then for today's episode. But let's go ahead and get to some contact information. Mark, let's start with you. Where can people find you online?
I'm at That's Art Folks on all the things except the places I'm not.
That's right. Kelly, what about you?
I'm on Twitter, Yoda Princess, YODAPRNCSS. I'm sorry, X, and also on Threads, same handle.
All right, Nathan.
I don't know. No, Django FT. That's me. That's on X. Everyone, Django FT.
All right, Animanicast. We're on all the things. We haven't quite broken through to Truth Social yet, but maybe one day. Not. Kidding. Never going on. All right. But yeah, follow us on anything you got, and feel free to like us and subscribe and share it. It's good for you. Yeah, it's healthy. All right. Well, that'll do it for today's episode. So for Nathan, Kelly, and Mark, this is Joey saying good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
This podcast is not endorsed by Warner Brothers or Amblin Entertainment and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Animaniacs, Tiny Toon Adventures, Freakazoid, the Warner Brothers logo, all names, pictures, and sounds are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Animanicast unless otherwise indicated.
Whatever.